Palestinian Solidarity support groups are protesting outside the High Court in Cape Town in support of South Africa's case against Israel at the International Court of Justice in The Hague. Our reporter Mariska Botha is there and she now joins us outside the court. Mariska, good morning. Thank you so much for making time for us. Tell us about the message that these protesters are sending this morning.
Good morning to you. Yes, indeed, we are outside here. There's many groupings gathered here today. You see it's a very busy street, but we're going to get straight into it with Shiam Samai, who's an attorney for Lawyers for Palestine, and she's also the director of the Women's Legal Center. Shiam, thank you so very much for making time for us. Why outside the Western Cape High Court?
Well, the important issue for us is to be able to show solidarity as the legal fraternity, as progressive organizations within the legal fraternity, and to send good wishes to our legal team as well as South Africa in The Hague today. And we know that we are going to hear it in 2 hours' time, and to be able to show that as lawyers, progressive lawyers, we are supporting this application that South Africa has brought in The Hague.
What is your views on the application?
Well, this particular application is in 2 parts. Today, we will be hearing the application for the interim relief to be able to ensure that Israel stops all military actions within, and many other relief that has been asked. But the most important, which is the ceasefire, subject to the hearing of the main application, which we all know will be done in many years. But the important issue is that if there is no ceasefire, that the Palestinian people will be killed further, and also that there is no justice without that particular ceasefire. And so the important issue for us is to ensure that South Africa's application, that they win their particular application, and that the military action in Palestine stops.
We're also seeing a great collaboration of people here. It's not just one grouping here. What does that say about how South Africans on the ground are possibly feeling about?
Well, what we see here today is that we have a collective legal fraternity, whether or not it's from the National Association of Democratic Lawyers to South African women lawyers, also different formations that have come here today to be able to show that support. What it tells us is that South Africa is committed to the freedom of Palestine, that this fraternity is committed to the freedom of Palestine, and that we hope that everything goes well in The Hague today.
What would be the best outcome after today?
The best outcome would be is a ceasefire and stopping of all military actions within Palestine, and to be able to ensure that there's some form of reparations that are given to the Palestinian people, and to stop the displacement of Palestinian people. That is the interim relief up until the main application is being heard.
How soon would that happen if the court grants that?
Well, this particular interim relief, this particular application, it will be done on an urgent basis, which will hopefully be in the next month, and to be able to ensure that Israel, if we do win, that Israel adheres to the court order that has been given by the ICJ.
As one of the organizers of this gathering here today, what is your message?
My message is to South Africa, to all progressive organizations, that we should support our country, support our legal team, and that we must continue the solidarity and the advocacy and the international solidarity that is phenomenal in terms of this particular case, and that we should continue doing that.
Thank you very much, Shiam Samai. Waiting patiently for us to speak to her as well. One of the main organizers of today's event, speaking about the gathering here. We also have, among others, different groupings like South African Jews for a Free Palestine. That's part of this gathering. Let's see if we can bring someone in from that organization. Yes, indeed, we can. It's Caitlin Leroy, and she's a member of South African Jews for a Free Palestine. Caitlin, thank you for joining us. Why is your organization here?
So we are here to offer our support as South African Jews for Free Palestine to the ICJ team in their oral arguments today, and really just add our voice to the call for freedom for Palestinians, which we are deeply committed to in our work, is to try to see freedom in Palestine.
Obviously, this is a highly emotive subject for many people in South Africa. South Africa is known as a diverse community. For your organization, what does it mean to be able to stand here and give your support to Palestine?
So for us it is quite difficult from an interpersonal perspective. As we all know, the South African Jewish community is quite vocal in its support of Israel. So we do kind of stand quite alone in vocalizing our support for the Palestinians. But in that way it means a lot to us to be here. Not only because we are deeply committed to justice and freedom and just respecting the dignity of all people, but also because a lot of what Israel does, most of what Israel does, is done in our name. So to have crimes committed in our name, to have children murdered in our name and supposedly on our behalf is offensive, it's upsetting, and it gives us more fuel to try to be as active part of this movement as possible.
What would you hope would be the outcome of today?
I hope that the outcome, of today specifically, I just wish the team well in their oral arguments. I have no doubt, having read the papers, that they're going to be absolutely excellent. And I'm just waiting to see what the ICJ finds. Hopefully it will be a very symbolic victory. But more than that, I'm hoping it really pushes the international community to actually stand up and act and end this bombardment and bring us closer towards a ceasefire.
Thank you very, very much. That was, of course, Caitlin Leroy from South African Jews for Free Palestine. I'm going to step out of shot so you can see people just saying the national anthem, all the different groupings here together, letting their voice heard. We also saw the likes of Zaki Ahmad speaking as well, giving his support for South Africa's bid in The Hague today, saying it is time for drastic action, and he supports that as well. And with that, it's back to you in the studio.
Yeah. Mariska, just quickly, we've seen, for instance, in Cape Town especially, that there have been pro-Israeli protests and pro-Palestinian protests happening. Do we know if today there are any pro-Israeli protests happening at all?
I'm not aware of any at this point in time. I was not made aware of any at this point in time. I've not received communication of such an event taking place today in Cape Town at any given time. But it is quite possible that perhaps later there might be something, but I am not aware of any. The main supportive movement that we're seeing today is symbolic outside the judiciary, of course, because The Hague is a court, the High Court in Cape Town, used as a backdrop, as a symbolic gesture of support for South Africa's legal team that is going to The Hague today. But I am not aware at this moment in time of any pro-Israel protests or movements today.